Morning guys, James here down at the Southampton International Boat Show, and this week we're going to start a look around some of the boats you've got here on the stand. Now behind me is a Manhattan 55, she's boat 376, she's a 2023 fresh out of the factory, and this one is currently available. Now I'm really excited about this one as I had a few little styling tweaks I did on the interior of this one, and she is absolutely perfect for use here in the UK. 55 Manhattan was a evolution of the 52, arguably one of the most successful boats Sunseeker's ever made. And this one's just got a few custom tweaks that work really nicely with our sort of Northern European climate. Now let's just spin around so you can try and see the boat here in profile. Built in the classic Sunseeker rail white gel coat, and then we've got the black signature boot top stripe along the waterline there. We have the big glass windows in the hull. We've covered lots of these on the channel. One of my favourite models, as she does fit our marinas here very nicely in the UK. A few little stats here on the board just to show you what's what. So we have one engine option on the shaft, which is the D13-800 engine, and it's an upgrade on the 52, so a little bit quicker. Some styling changes on the outside with the carbon fibre engine intakes here, and we put the solid bar in there rather than the paraffin guard wire that you would have seen on earlier boats. But the main changes on these were on the interior. Now we do have a crew in the back as an option, so on this side we'll have a look as we jump on in a bit. Hydraulic high-low bathing platform there, suitable for a tender up to a Williams 345. And then we have an option in the back here, if you so wish, not so much perhaps a requirement here in the UK, for a drop-down seat and a little barbecue. We've elected to put all of that up onto the Flybridge. Now of course we can enclose this whole area, and as the weather changes through the course of the week here in Southampton, just makes the boat a little bit more usable throughout the season. But that does allow you then to incorporate the saloon and the aft cockpit area into one seamless zone. So let's head up on board. Standard teak finish here in the cockpit, and of course on the bathing platform as we just came up, and then we have elected to put that onto the side decks as well. Some nice neutral colours on this one. Diamante upgrade on the exterior fabrics here, so nice and easy to wipe down. Opening top on the table, so we've got the ability to turn that into more of a coffee style design when you're in port. The two bar stools, as is quite common, these are removable out of the deck. Gives you a little bit more space here to the table with a couple of director's chairs for dining, but it does give you that sort of social ability to sit up onto the back end of the galley there to enjoy a drink with somebody preparing inside. Lots of LED lighting throughout. You can see the strip lighting and the spots. It's all dimmable, and it flows really nicely into that saloon feature lighting there. You can see, just scanning around on the camera, how that works. So in terms of fit and finish inside, we have an upgrade on the stone tops here. This top of course lifting over like so, and then we have the ability to lift this window up and instantly transform the boat into a closed deck saloon. We can leave this as a wet area, or we could have the canopies up, and you can see the door arrangement coming across, and that instantly closes the boat down. We could put the heating on and turn this into a very usable space when the weather isn't so nice. Now obviously with an aft galley like this, serving in and out of the cockpit and up onto the Flybridge is very straightforward. Saves walking through the saloon area. And as we come in through the door, we have the upgrade for the refrigeration system. So we've got some fridge and freezer drawers here on the right hand side. Cupboards galore on these. They're really good for storage, and as you can see, packed in over on that starboard side. We've got some plug sockets on the wall there, so we could put a coffee machine, what have you, up on the sideboard. And then across here on the galley setup, we've got the upgrade with the wine fridge, of course drawers for crockery, cutlery and what have you. Glasses storage and what have you sit forward here. And then we have under here a good size convection oven there, 4-burner top, slimline dishwasher in here, and a 1.5 bowl sink arrangement. So it's a very practical working space. Owners of this sort of size boat tend to be owner operators, and it does give the boat full functionality for extended periods on board. Now the big change for us on this particular boat, as you can see here on the starboard side, is we have taken away the standard sideboard, the fixed TV on display all the time, and we've returned to that idea of as we had on the hugely successful 52, with a sofa and a TV tucked into the wall. Now obviously for a UK spec boat, we spend a lot of time sitting inside and the weather's not so nice. We've got these lovely big glass windows, and it's a shame for me to lose some of the view out of this side with a fixed TV. It does give you much more social seating here, so you can sit opposite what is the standard configuration on this side, and it, for me, I think turns the boat into a much more practical space. We could change this and put it back to the standard configuration if you so wish, and if you were ever looking at a stock boat with us with the other configuration, I could change it to this style if you prefer. Every boat is different and every owner's requirements are a little bit different, and as such there is never quite the perfect option for everybody, but for me I think this works really well. Being a boat show boat, we've upgraded lots of the fabrics and the carpets and what have you, and I hope this one, being quite neutral in its tones, will appeal to a multitude of different owners. It's a med spec boat. It could obviously go south in the future, so we have things like the docking winches, the passerelle and a full reverse cycle air conditioning system to make the boat as versatile as possible. I could retrofit a standalone diesel heating system into the boat as well if you so wish. So standard configuration here on the port side, we elected to go with a fixed top on the table. The wood finish in this particular boat is this beautiful satin sheen eucalyptus. For me, it's my favourite of the range at the moment, and a lot of stainless steel detailing you can see throughout the interior here to give the boat a very modern and fresh appeal. Ever the practical boats these, we've got things like big storage bins here over the opposite the helm for your binoculars and charts and what have you. Easy to get to hand, as you will use the internal helm if you're driving the boat here in Northern Europe. The seat here, as you can see, the bolster lifts up and drops down, gives you a bit more working space on the floor here. If you were to drive from inside, we've got a drop down electric window there, as well as that secondary helm upstairs. Premium Simrad navigation system on this one, so we've got the two 16-inch chart plotter displays there that give you all the multitude of systems such as AIS, fish finder, there's a 64 nautical mile open array radar up top, and of course your charts, engine, telemetry, and then over on this side we have a DSC VHF handset as well. Now you'll notice next to the throttle controls we elected to go for the Zenta joystick system. Not an absolute requirement on something like this, but as there is a good chance this boat may end up with a first time boat buyer, it does mean for those a little bit less confident with the throttle, steering and thruster controls, we can integrate what we need to into one single control. So just mentioning throttle, thruster up here, we've got proportional bow and stern thrusters, trim tabs, autopilot control, engine displays, and then the upgrade for the multifunction steering wheel. This is a nice touch, just rather than having to get out of the seat and touch the screens. They are full touchscreen displays, by the way. We do have the ability to control the screens here from your fingertips on the wheel. Standard Sunseeker CM8 monitoring panel there for all the onboard alarm systems and certain digital switching of the systems. And then here, as part of the premium AV package, we have an iPad mini which will control the Sonos system throughout the various zones on the boat. Handy little wireless charging point for your phone. For me, this is pretty much as highly spec'd really as you'd want to go here. Underneath the helm here, we've got a nice little footrest you can see, and there's a drop down cupboard for all the switches for the main onboard DC systems. So central companionway stairs now, it takes us down, obviously options with wood floors and what have you, but this particular one being more likely to be here in the UK, we have these lovely carpet finishes, very soft as you walk around without your shoes on. So 3 cabin configuration, it's the standard layout down here, it works extremely well. And this is cabin number 2 on the boat, or the VIP guest as we often refer it to. Centerline double bed, we've got storage galore in here. Space under the bed, we've got top level locker boxes, good sized cupboards and drawers and what have you. I'm not going to go into all of that too much detail, so lots of tours on the channel to check it out in more detail if you wish. Wardrobe here, and then we've got plug sockets either side of the bed. Split up, so we've got a combination with USBs on there just as we move more and more into standardised charging systems for phones and what have you. You've got EU 2-pin sockets. We could change those to UK easy enough, but on this particular boat, just as there is the chance it may end up in the Med, we have gone with the standard EU configuration. So we come into cabin number 3, or the guest cabin here on the starboard side. 2 single beds, you can see some nice accented LED lighting there on the bulkhead, and again we've got storage top and wardrobe there. AV package throughout, so we've got TVs in all the cabins, and these 2 cabins here share the bathroom here across the hallway. There's a Jack and Jill arrangement here to give direct access from that forward cabin if you're just running on board with, say, 2 couples. And then we have storage up behind the mirrors there, and some very nice combination of materials used in here. Synthetics rather than real stone, but I like the veined effect in the synthetic there. And then we come down some steps here into the depths of the boat. So this is the master cabin, and just before we come into the cabin itself, we have a repeat of that bathroom we've just been in, or heads compartment for the sea dogs around here. We have a full separate shower stall there with the rain shower up in the ceiling there, and we come then down a couple further steps into the master itself. Standard configuration over on the starboard side there. We've gone with the 2 seats and the table. A little bit of adjustment here just to give a little bit more space for your legs under the table. Some sprayed finish you can see on the edges of the tabletop here rather than the wood, just gives a little bit of a lighter touch around here. And you can see the LED lighting on the aft bulkhead there. We've left space in the middle here for a nice piece of art if you so wish. Port side of the boat, we have the standard sideboard arrangement, so we've got some cupboards and drawers and what have you, and of course the 55-inch TV there with the soundbar underneath. There's a wardrobe over on this side, so the boat is pretty much loaded to the gunnels. So let's head back on up. Let's take a look at the Flybridge. It's a nice wide stairwell access here, not a ladder at all, so we've got handrails here and come down forwards or backwards. LED lighting throughout the side decks, just to give the boat a nice look in the evening. And as we get to the top of the steps here, we scan round, you can see the aft area of the Flybridge. You've got this giant seating area with the expanding top table. You can see the radar we referred to earlier. There's some space on top for some dummy domes if you like that sort of look, and the twin VHF aerials just to finish things off. Wet bar arrangement here forward, so we have a lift up top, and as we mentioned earlier, multitude of different options with the griddle. We went for the exterior one up top here, and then we have the refrigerator, the ice maker, and there's a sink underneath here to give you a full wet bar arrangement. The generator is upgraded. It does give you the future option to put a gyro in. This boat currently spec'd without, as most of our boating in the UK is from one marina to another and not absolutely required. Again, as part of that Simrad Premium Pack, we've got the 2 12-inch displays up top here, the joystick system we talked about earlier, and all the throttle, thruster and engine controls here. Again, the multifunction steering wheel, just giving that little bit ease of use for the captain itself. Seat bases here lift up, gives you a little bit more working deck space to drive the boat stood up, and you're coming and going into port. There's a nice view down the back there. You can see the aft end of the platform, and as we have a look down the side here, you can see great visibility from the stern all the way up to the bow. We haven't as such yet fitted a bimini onto this boat, as there are a couple of different factory options, wants to keep that as versatile as possible. So you can have a fixed style up here to cover the entire Flybridge. You can have a pram style hydraulic system. It all stacks back onto this aft coaming to give about 2/3 of the Flybridge coverage if required, or dare I say even a hardtop arrangement is an option if you so wish. I do have one boat in the UK running a hardtop, but most of them elect to go for the bimini. So over this side, just to show you before we move forward, the option to add a third station control. For me, moving away from these now more into the remote systems, but there is the option for something like a dockmate if you so wish. So we went with the teak upgrade on the side decks here. For me, just finishes the boat rather than the standard non-slip GRP. It's a personal choice. It does take more maintenance, but I think if you're running a boat like this with a professional valeting team keeping the boat spick and span for you, it does just give that feeling of luxury on board. So we just come up on the front here. You can see the big seating area. This is all standard configuration, but we did go with the lift up backrest for those 2 cushions on there. The table drops down. There's a couple of fill-in cushions to go on there to make a sunbed, and then of course the protective covers package to cover all of this over, so you don't have to take the cushions off and stow them away out of season. It means you can turn up in the winter and use all that interior volume as a floating country cottage on the water without having to keep all the cushions down in your cabins. You notice cleats galore, so very easy for docking with all your spring lines and what have you. We come back into the cockpit here. We finish off with the engine room and the crew space. So accessed here through the deck. Nice easy ladder arrangement on these, so we can come down backwards. Full of kit from the boat show. But we have the generator here sat outboard. If you want to retrofit a gyro, it literally drops into this hole here. We have a little modification of moving the generator up and outboard. But these are definitely designed to do afterwards, and it's a nice, relatively straight install if you wouldn't require one of those on board for your own usage. So I'm just scanning around here. You have to excuse all the crap and rubbish down here whilst we're at the boat show, but we're on a straight shaft configuration here with these engines, and then outboard fuel tanks. 2,200 litres of fuel on these with a outboard wing tanks. We've got all the electrical systems up on the forward bulkhead there, and the best of the best in terms of Victron and what have you on the electrical charging system. Hot water tank, accumulator for the water pressure there over on the port side. There's lots of working deck space down here, very nicely finished, and then we've got some hydraulic systems tucked around the back on that side. So if we just come back up out of the engine room, finish off back here in the crew space. So nice easy access here off the platform, and I mention that only because it is often at owner operator size such as this a junk store. We've got full laundry facilities with a washer dryer. We've elected to keep the bathroom in here and a nice wet room floor, so very practical, dragging canopies and water sports equipment into here, rather than perhaps an access which you might see through the seat in the cockpit of some of the boats of our competition at this sort of size. For me, the access when you'll be using it regularly as a store needs to be nice and straightforward off the platform. We did go with the single bed in here. I can remove this and put a cabinet system in here with more storage for refrigeration and what have you if you so wish, or it can just be a case of an ad hoc single bed as you see it now, with some storage of loose items on top. Little window up top there for ventilation. Often some owners like this as a kids cabin for a teenager. It's a great place to use as an additional 7th berth as required. There is a locker in the back here that will take a sea bob for those that want to carry the extra water sports toys. For me, this is a very nicely configured boat. Price on this one is coming in around £1.87 million ex-tax. As you see here, realistically, apart from a backlit name perhaps and some safety kit, she is pretty much turnkey ready to get on the water for the 24 season. I can find you a mooring here on the south coast if you want to stay local to us. Of course, as part of the European network that we own through the London Group, there is the option to take this off into warmer climates if you so wish. Contact details as always, it's James at sunseekersouthampton.com, or the mobiles +44 7747 686 587. Hope you enjoyed looking around with us this morning, and we hope to see you down here at the show this week.